Hi, I'm Tom Bentz with Dassault Systèmes, and I'm with Steve Hayward, Product Marketing Manager for Dassault Systèmes BioVia brand. We continue in our One Lab webinar series with a summary of One Development Lab. One Development Lab is a critical component that drives the value enabled by the One Lab industry solution experience from the apps represented on the 3D Experience platform. Our webinar today will cover the core challenges facing a development lab, introduce the One Development Lab industry process experience, its underlying tools, and how they address such challenges, as well as examples of how One Development Lab actually works. We'll close the webinar by sharing some of the benefits and results that customers using One Development Lab have seen. And with that, I will hand it off to Steve.
Thanks, Tom, for that introduction. While one lab spans across all areas of laboratory operations, one development lab focuses, of course, on development labs, specifically the process and therapy development that our pharmaceutical biotechnology customers undertake. Once something has been identified through research as a therapy with a therapeutic efficacy, the development lab does the work required to determine if it can be a commercial product. There are specific and challenging activities that development labs need to undertake. They need to look broadly across systems in order to make sure that the therapy being developed is safe and effective, and they need to determine ways to make the therapy at a reasonable cost and with a reasonable, repeatable process for manufacturing. One development lab addresses these needs by offering capabilities and tools to achieve faster, more efficient processes that drive innovation. Drug development is a crucial step in converting identified therapeutics into marketable drugs, but getting to that point has many challenges. The breadth of related activities is large, generating data in many different formats. Activities require flexibility and knowledge transfer between different disciplines, as well as adherence to regulations and guidelines. These activities also require standardized processes, methods, and recipes. Without these, development labs can suffer wasted resources due to redundancy and repeated work, as well as compliance risks from inconsistent processes. This adds multiple layers of concern for development teams. Development labs need timely access to reliable information and contextual data that with traditional systems is often locked in silos. They must adhere to scientifically developed processes and have access to the knowledge developed in the research lab, which is a process usually referred to as tech transfer. Development labs need tools to avoid inefficient testing that delays product development and ultimately increases costs. And lastly, they must compile and maintain compliance documentation, which often involves a large amount of effort with traditional systems and creates market and regulatory risks if not arduously adhered to. To address these informatics challenges, BioVia provides a fully integrated solution supporting the management of all data related to the characterization of substances and the development of formulations, manufacturing processes, and the related testing. BioVia Lab Services provides the underlying technology framework for integrating equipment, data systems, applications, analysis tools, and other business or lab informatics systems. And as a result, the One Development Lab functions as an integration hub, improving efficiency and compliance along the entire development value chain. To set up and document an experiment, scientists use out-of-the-box templates that define the structure of the data entry and enable scientists to create new experiments quickly and easily by cloning previous ones. Once an experiment is set up, the BioVia solution enables easy entry of observations and results. Scientists just drag and drop files and images into the experiment or enter observations and data directly into the system, for example, using mobile devices. The data can be entered unstructured, for example, microscopy, gel images, blots, etc., or structured, such as spreadsheets, graphs, etc. Instrument integration enables the automatic capture and transfer of analytical data and results, and data exchange with third-party applications. So how does this fit in with the context of OneLab? OneLab is BioVia's industry solution experience for managing and integrating data and information related to samples, equipment, people, inventory, and processes. It's a single solution for lab planning and management, lab execution and reporting, and resource and procedure management. All of this is accessed through role-based industry process experiences designed for research, development, and quality domains. With the use of one development lab, researchers can characterize therapeutics faster and more effectively and create a catalog of process knowledge that allows them to select the best materials and optimize processes with the knowledge that the safety and cost elements are readily available and can be managed effectively. The cost element comes not only from materials cost, but also process improvement. For example, a development lab can be tasked with taking a process that may have come out of research with 20 steps, but needs to be reduced in order to save time and cost. Or they may need to look at using different materials that are more cost efficient and effective when being manufactured on a significantly larger scale. One development lab ensures that these elements have been included in the process data that customers need access to. One development lab targets improving collaboration and tech transfer between groups in the lab. For example, as I go from early development investigation, I'll interact with different stability groups who take my materials and early drug products for the purpose of stability testing. In this example, I'll interact with the pilot plant group and transfer synthetic methods and formulations recipes to them. Doing this electronically maximizes efficiency and reduces decision risks while enabling the tech transfer process. I'll need traceability for scale-up as I go from lab scale to pilot scale and then to manufacturing scale. And what if I find an anomaly within a process in manufacturing and I need to scale down again in order to investigate? I'll need to see the other process development boundaries that were investigated in development, and I need to scale down to do an investigation potentially with a new supplier or new piece of equipment. I need to access and scale down that process back into development so that I can make my decisions with lower risk. Having full documentation and traceability of process and procedures will allow us to determine and fix the problems that arise. So, how does one development lab solve the top challenges impacting the efficiency of development labs? It does so by streamlining workflows and documentation that integrate business and scientific processes with data pipelining and automation, all based on a single foundation. It links data with the context it generates to ensure consistent interpretations and collaboration, while providing knowledge to model and predict future outcomes. By standardizing and automating processes, labs can enjoy reduced compliance efforts and reduced business risks, as well as ensuring proper tech transfer needed to reduce decision risks. The focus of one development lab is on the development and optimization of processes. This requires multiple repetitions. The scientist might look at a process in 100 different ways, sometimes many hundreds, and may need to tweak parameter values, sequences, or materials. In a development lab, there are scientists conducting analytical testing, researchers doing formulations development, and all of them may have different processes. The result is that labs have different scientific elements, so scientists need different information, or they might have similar information but need to look at it in different ways. So the questions that have to be asked are, how does this data get shared? How can this data be viewed in the unique way that each area of the lab or researcher may need it? How are the processes being documented so people know what is being tested and how it's being tested? And how can it be replicated or changed? And this is the value of one development lab. It's a set of tools that enables formulators, analytical chemists, process chemists, bioprocess engineers, and others to digitally document their processes and create and store data so that users can pivot or provide the appropriate process or view to others in the lab. One development lab offers specific domain tools for these areas so they can look at their problems, aggregate materials, make the materials or make the process that they need for a solid and liquid dosage form. It is really about aggregating and creating a single solution for development from both process and control aspects. Unifying tools, processes, and people together for greater efficiency. This is what one development lab can bring to an organization. The capabilities of the solution mean that development labs now have the domain tools they need to look at their problem space. But more importantly, they have these tools connected to the resources they use as they perform their work. Let's use inventory as an example. Do researchers have the materials and the physical stock to perform their tests? If not, how long will it take to obtain, and how long might it delay further testing? With one development lab, the instruments are connected to inventory systems, so users can determine whether they have the appropriate level of excipients or the appropriate starter reactants or catalysts to run a reaction. Users designing an experiment can look and see what's available and can either order more materials or appropriately schedule their work so they can do the aspect of the experiment when the material comes in. So connecting to inventory as that resource is very important to the productivity enhancements we deliver. Let's take a closer look at how one development lab works. The solution's capabilities for recipe process developments include a tool called Compose. Compose allows a researcher to take a recipe and structure the data together so that they can use this recipe, method, or procedure repeatedly, always with the knowledge that they're using the same process. A recipe can be built from predefined steps, ensuring consistency while speeding up the authoring process. This screen shows the authoring tool. In this example, it displays the formulations of a tableting process. You can see how a scientist can structure the procedure very easily. And it's very easy to use. The interface is drag and drop, and it's a responsive design web application that can be run on many different devices, such as a computer or a tablet. To change or modify any part of the process, the user simply pulls from a variety of centralized and tested stages that can be dragged from the left into their process, and it will pull in those specific specs, data elements, and materials. So it's very easy to use and interact with. And it follows the process industry standard called S88. Once a researcher finishes with their process, the S88 construct allows them to export this to other systems, such as another Biovia system, or even a manufacturing execution system, or MES, or another system that controls the actual process in the manufacturing lab. So the S88 standard is a very important aspect of the tech transfer value that is delivered in one development lab. The solution also includes a companion tool to Compose called Capture. Once a procedure is authored in Compose, it is executed by scientists using Capture, which takes an authored procedure and allows the researcher to run it from multiple places, from a tablet in the lab, in a manufacturing or formulation suite as they work with different mixtures, blends, or a tableting machine. From all of these areas, the researcher can see the process itself on a tablet or other compatible device. The example shown here displays a very simple interface where work instructions are on the left and data entry elements are on the right. It's intended for easy manual entry, and it can connect directly to equipment as mentioned before. It can connect to the instrument, and it can also look at the metadata with its calibration state, among other things. And if it's properly enabled, the data can be pulled or acquired directly from the instrument. If a scientist is working with a manufacturing scale, they can simply click a button in Capture and both communicate electronically to that scale, as well as obtain its recorded weight. In the example shown here, the user is working with a mixing step, and they can type the data manually in using the tablet, or they can record the info directly from the machine, eliminating all transcription errors or typing errors that might be possible. This data capture element is a key value both to one development lab and later, as we'll see, to one quality lab. As mentioned previously, another important capability of one development lab is its connection to equipment. Researchers have equipment throughout the process and throughout their labs. And one development lab includes a system to register equipment and keep track of how it's used, if it's being used properly validated and qualified, so that when a researcher goes to use that piece of equipment, they have a historical record of the equipment's performance, and they can use it moving forward. These integrations are key to compliance and productivity benefits. It may not directly contribute to the innovation that these users are doing, but knowing that the resources they're using have been properly maintained and ready for use is a benefit that saves time for researchers and allows them to get to innovation faster. Now that we've shown how one development lab works, let's talk a bit about the benefits that users receive. What kind of improvements have our customers seen? This has been a key area of solution delivery for BioVia for over a decade. We've been working with formulators, analytical chemists, and process chemists for a long time, and these are some of the results that we have seen when one development lab is applied. Improvement of development time and applying quality by design elements, which is a key industry initiative. An underlying aspect of quality by design is that when a process is run, the user has the information to know what the key process elements and critical product attributes are. Customers have reported 10% or greater development improvement time using the processes of running tests with quality by design, which is a significant savings. Our customers have reported as much as 50% reductions in paperwork, which is a huge savings for development labs. Customers say a key benefit is true traceability, and this is enhanced with the move to electronic record keeping. And as development labs strive to reduce complexity and the manufacturing costs, meeting compliance requirements is critical. One development lab ensures that labs are executing the processes as well as following them, so compliance follows from the process itself. While cutting paperwork in half is obviously a huge benefit, our customers tell us that having assurance that processes have been followed is equally as important. Another benefit for development labs is the reduction of dark data. Scientists have their own tools. They work on their own computers with Excel or some other specialized tool, and they want to look at their observations, their own data, and draw conclusions. They're motivated to solve problems and to move quickly on to the next stage. Gartner reports that leaving residual data on local PCs or on instrument hard drives or a network without proper indexing results in data that is lost and never used. This is known in the industry as dark data, information that is used once but never really accessed or applied to project decisions at a higher level, or never applied to available computational or forecasting models. We've had customers report a 70% increase in the reuse of data that's been captured electronically, so they can find it and reapply it. And unlocking this data benefits both scientists and their projects. To summarize, one development lab is a single solution for creating and documenting method and recipe development workflows. It helps developers identify what is needed, and time and again, our customers have told us that what they need is timely access to reliable information with the context that generated that information and led to a decision in the first place. Development labs need to adhere to their scientific processes. They need to develop them, and when they need to execute, they need to adhere to them. So creating an easy system of process development and process compliance as it is executed is a key deliverable for the One Development Lab system. One Development Lab supports customers with the creation of these methods, procedures, and recipes for them to develop and test as a therapy progresses from small scale to large scale, turning investigative materials into products and product formulations that lead to commercialization. One Development Lab provides a standard understanding and usage of laboratory equipment, lab materials, and the procedural steps, as well as a unified role-based user experience for the lab. It enables a better understanding of the processes by leveraging and utilizing a unified content layer of data so that the formulators, the process chemists, and the analytical chemists investigating the materials are all working with the same source of information. The formulation, production, and scale-up can leverage new initiatives like quality by design across the spectrum of an organization's projects and investigations. One Development Lab links data with the context so that we can ensure consistent interpretation and effective collaboration as we go across different domains and groups. It provides data access to allow modeling and forecasting to predict the outcomes based on designers' experiments. It provides users with data pipelining and automation that really allows for the elimination of the repetitious things that they do and allows them to focus on the innovation to generate and come up with the next therapy. In conclusion, the key benefits of one development lab are improving data quality and reducing compliant risks through standardization and automation, improving collaboration, tech transfer, and decision-making through the easier exchange of more consistent data and information, and developing and characterizing therapeutics more effectively at reduced costs with integrated workflows and automated data-driven processes. So with that, I'll say thank you and hand it back over to Tom.
Thank you, Steve, and thanks to our audience for taking the time to view this webinar. We hope you found it useful. If you have questions or if you'd like more information on One Development Lab, please contact us at the information found on the screen or by simply going to 3ds.com and hitting the Contact Sales tabs throughout the life science industry as well as the One Lab Industry Solution Experience pages. Also, be sure to watch the One Research and One Quality Lab webinars, which are all critical components that drive the value enabled by the One Lab Industry Solution Experience available on the 3D Experience platform. Thanks again for your time.